we can go live and go with the agenda.
We're live.
Okay. Welcome to the meeting of the God, I'm just having an own blank of the
Government and Community Relations Committee.
Thank you. I just had a senior moment. I guess I could use that as an excuse. Thank you. With the Georgia
Greg,
government.
I cheated and I just read the top of the screen, so don't feel bad.
I'm trying to remember our new name, and this is, by the way, our first meeting under the new name. So, but yes, Government and Community Relations Committee. And I'm going to, first thing is to take roll. Dr. Anderson?
Here.
Dr. Maddox?
Here.
Miss Gallagher? Miss Gallagher? And Greg Davis here. Okay, we do have a quorum. Do I have a motion to amend or adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second? Anybody second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any nays? Nope. Okay, we're going to start off the agenda with our approval of the minutes. And hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at them. And as you can see, we had a different kind of grouping of members. This is our first time that we've kind of altered our membership for this meeting. Is there a motion to amend or adopt the minutes?
I move to adopt the minute.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. And Greg,
Opposed?
just for my clarity, the
Sure.
minutes are those 4 bullet items that you sent that had the activities that you were planning for this committee for the year listed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay, right now we're going over the minutes, but then, but the agenda has those, I think there were 3 items,
Okay.
6.1, 6.2, and 6.3.
Okay.
And they're what we've talked about.
Okay.
And then there's documentation beside 2 of them that Angela can click on when we get to it. I'm going to start off with our report from Mr. Harris as to the fantastic work that he's doing. And first off, let me say welcome to not only new committee members, but also to Angela and to Tim Johnson for joining us, and for our attorney, Mr. Pruitt, joining us. Is there anyone else who is here that I'm not seeing besides, of course, Mr. Harris? Okay. Okay, Mr. Harris.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Davis. Good evening, everyone. I appreciate this time. I believe, if I'm correct, Mr. Davis, you said I'll probably have a standing report on the Government and Community Relations Committee agenda. So this will be my first report, which will probably be my most brief report. And then as we probably develop, I'll work on developing PowerPoints and have supplemental documents for you to review. So for my report today, I just want to talk a bit about what our division has been working on. Today, we did come off our division retreat. So it was an all-day retreat where my team engaged in learning around what is true family and community engagement, what is communications. We reviewed and examined data from our school leadership teams around the 3 priorities or the 3 objectives listed in strategic priority 2, which is community collaboration. So we did have the opportunity to participate with our principals, our assistant principals, and our instructional department, as well as some of our directors around what does communications look like in CCSD? Where are the gaps? But what are also the highlights? So we kind of did the thorns and roses model for communications, for family engagement, as well as for charter system governance. So my team went through that data today, and we just began to have preliminary discussions around how will we address that data. One of the things we do keep in mind, and I reported out last month for the Government and Community Relations Committee, my division is fairly new. We're about 1.5 years, almost close to 2 years old, as I say. We are fairly a budding division. And so as we set the mission and vision of our work, it's important that we're grounded in our why, and we're grounded in what the work really looks like. So today we examined data. We are looking forward to, in the next couple of weeks, we'll start to develop plans for how we can engage our community. We talked about what gaps exist. And then we started doing some preliminary problem solving, so that way we can start to think about what initiatives we need to put in place and take action on, so we can close the gap in those 3 areas. Those were pretty much the highlights from the retreat. I will say also we have officially filled our community school director position, and so looking forward to her joining our team in July. She came today to our retreat, and I already can tell she's going to be a huge asset to the Clark County School District, and the work in family and community engagement. That's definitely her heart. She has amazing ideas about how we can continue to level up that work. So she'll be leading our family and community engagement department. So really looking forward to them implementing a lot of the ideas they discussed today from her experience, as well as from her team's experience. And that's all I really have, Mr. Davis. And again, I know this will probably be my briefest report in the future, probably much longer with a PowerPoint, but I'm happy for any questions that there may be.
So you had 3, was it 3 days of retreat or 2 days?
Just one right
Just
now.
one.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in no more than 1.5 days in a row, because it does pull you away from your email and phone. And I know all my team members have a lot of other work as well. So no, we did a day today, and we'll be doing an additional day in July and August in preparation for the school year.
Did you, so you were able to meet, so how was it set up? So it was just your team and the principals, is that correct? Or were there other departments there as well?
Yeah, 2 different meetings. So we had the leadership retreat for the district 2 weeks ago with the principals, assistant principals, their instructional coaches, as well as our directors and EDs for the department or for the district. So about 116 people were there. That's where you did the preliminary survey around, what are some of the gaps, the ideas and concerns as it relates to the strategic priority my division supports. But today was our family and community engagement department, which includes our translators, our community engagement specialists, our after school program, 21st century program managers, budget assistants, and then the communications and PR department, which is that director, the communications and partnerships manager, our special projects intern, and our newly added a digital communication specialist. Unfortunately was out today, so he wasn't able to be there. So we just brought the departments together. So everyone in my division basically was engaged in learning and planning today.
So the family engagement specialists in each school are under your umbrella.
Yes, sir.
They also were there. Okay.
They report directly to the principals, but they're supported by my team. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I'm going to make my report based on kind of what the agenda is. And first off, I really want to, and I really wish that Ms. Gallagher was here with us, because she is part of the impetus for what I would like to say, Government and Community Relations Committee .1, because we've changed the name. So we're starting brand new, but also being very conscientious about not just meeting for the sake of meeting, but actually meeting to accomplish stuff, to have action items. And so as chair, I've really put a lot of thought into what that means. And I certainly am not, the intent is not to just add more work to Mr. Harris and his team. At the same time, there are things that the board has talked about that may come up and that may fall on the shoulders of his staff. And I'm particularly talking about some type of youth community organization event, but we'll get to that later on in the agenda. The first item that I wanted to speak upon was the resolution that was passed by the Georgia Board of Education at the request of the governor. And I don't know, was anyone else able to watch the video of the discussion? Angela Palm, our representative from the Georgia School Board Association, sent us a link to that hour-long meeting where that was talked about. Hopefully, people have had a chance to kind of read what was passed, and I found it very disturbing. And what I did was, we have, as a committee in the past, we have met once or twice a year with our elective state representatives and senators. We have met with, even on the federal level, we have met with representatives from our Congress people, of which there are 2 Congress people who represent Clark County because of the way that the lines are drawn. And of course, we have 3 state senators and 2 state senators and 3 House members, again, because of the way the lines were drawn. We've met with Georgia School Board Association multiple times, and we've also met with a number of organizations in the state that are involved with education budget proposals and setting the quality of education in Georgia. So we've done that type of stuff. We've met with the county commissioners, which we are still planning on doing in August. I did reach out to Mayor Gertz, and he is in turn waiting for a meeting to be set up with Dr. Thomas, with Dr. Gant, as well as he and Blaine Williams, the county manager. So I don't have anything to report as to that meeting in August, which is the agenda is kind of left on that particular meeting. The agenda is left to the county government. Our agenda is, our turn to set the agenda is in January. That's traditionally what we've done. But anyway, I did reach out for the first time ever to the representative of our representative. At least we have 2 representatives on the Georgia School Board, on the Georgia State School Board. We have one that they're appointed by the governor by district, and most of Clark County is represented by Dr. DeJanet, DeJanett. And he is a retired superintendent out of Morgan County. And I had a long conversation with him. And I was expressing my concerns as to the resolution that they passed and the implications of it. And in my second meeting with him, I actually wrote out what I sent to the committee members last week kind of rebuttal points, but in a much positive light. And surprisingly, he agreed with them. So go figure. So he supported what was passed by the state board, and at least he said he agreed with what was written here that we're going to get into in just a minute. What the reason why, to me, this is important is that I would like to, as we talk about a resolution that will go before the school board, which is what is on the agenda, for people to talk about. I would like to engage him in our next meeting, at least have him as an agenda item, and with the intent of building relationships. I'm disturbed when there's such a disconnect between our students and the needs of this community and our representative on the state level to the Georgia School Board. And normally, I have not gotten involved with them before because I have not seen them get into politics so directly, and they may have, but this to me was a real affront. And so the way that and Angela just put it on the screen, so we might as well kind of go into it. But I wanted to have this as something that we would go before the school board, so that would be, for the entire support of the school board, and then determine where if it passes, how to distribute it. And we've done this type of thing before on a few other issues. We've had some resolutions that we've passed as a school board. And so anyway, that would be one action item. Another action item would be working on the youth organizations, some type of event in which they would be invited and the community would be invited, particularly the parents and the staff, to see the offerings for our youth. And then the third agenda item is our community meeting that we would have with the public, that I've talked specifically with Dr. Anderson about and gotten some ideas from her, as well as knowing that Dr. Maddox has had experience in doing that type of thing as well already. So going into the agenda, are there any questions about that at this point before we kind of go into the resolution itself? Angela, if you can go down just a little bit. No, I'm sorry, up. I'm sorry, my bad. This is something that members have not seen before, because I just sent this over really in the last hour. And so as you cruise through it, I am interested in what, Tawana, what do you think about the idea of responding? And Dr. Anderson, what do you think about the idea of responding?
I'm so sorry. I could not find the unmute button. I mean, I support the idea of responding. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think it's, at this point, a moot effort. So I do not want it to be the focus of this committee.
Okay.
I don't want us to inundate ourselves with, the link and all of this. Because this is not a road that I think is worth us even traveling down. We can do it. If we do it very quickly, draft out something that the board agrees to, send it out, I'm fine with that. But if it's something that we're going to spend weeks doing, I don't want to do that.
Okay. What about in terms of what you've have you read what I've written thus far?
Yeah, I read what you wrote, and I also read the woman's original statement that you sent, that you forwarded me, and I do get her emails as well. I didn't watch the video though.
Okay.
But I mean, you know,
Well, I'm not really big into wordsmithing either. I just, if there was something that, I mean, you could say it could be stronger. I wrote it in the same framework as the state board resolution, and so, I kind of stayed within their framework in terms of structure and just flipped it. So that was basically what I did.
okay.
And then the introduction that I wrote earlier today simply kind of gives the history of where it comes from in some type of context.
Mm-hmm.
Tawana, what do you think? Tawana? We lost Tawana?
She's here. I can see her. I think she might be typing something.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's got a different name underneath it. That's what confused me.
There she is. Keep moving technology.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so she's having technology. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, and I will, what I will do is, there may be a lot more discussion on the board level, in which case we can, we can deal with it there. But if there are any last minute changes, Dr. Anderson or Dr. Maddox, and I will tell Ms. Gallagher the same thing, let me know, and we can, we can make those changes through email. Otherwise, what I would like to do is, if I can get a vote out of Tawana, I would like to go ahead and move this forward as something that this committee passed to go to the full board, mainly because of the timely factor.
I'm sorry, I missed all of that. Is this about the youth?
No, right now we're talking about the resolution that's on the screen.
Okay.
And what Dr. Anderson said is that she doesn't want to get bogged down in this stuff. I mean, she's okay with putting out a resolution, but she doesn't want to spend weeks and weeks doing wordsmithing and all that kind of thing, because she feels like it's almost a dead end. But with that, what I was going to do is simply put it out again, because I did write some new parts at the whole introduction. So
Okay.
what I would like to do is go ahead and pass it out of this committee, with the understanding that if there are any last minute wordsmithing that either Ms. Gallagher or you or Dr. Anderson have, then we can do that through email. You okay with that? Okay, can we have a motion to go ahead and move this forward to the entire board?
So moved.
Moved under the condition that we'll spend a little bit of time just making sure that everyone in the committee is okay with the language.
Right. And I just, the idea is just, but we can do that through email, right? Dr. Anderson?
Yeah.
Okay, so you seconded it.
Second.
So it was moved by Dr. Maddox and seconded by Dr. Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So we have gotten that, and I will put that out again through email and make sure everybody has a chance to weigh in before it gets moved on to the board. Okay, Angela, if we could see the agenda again.
I apologize, Mr. Davis. My internet went out, so I lost you guys for a second. But did you say you wanted to see the agenda?
Yes, please. Which, by the way, Mr. Harris, you think next month we can have the potential of going face to face?
Yeah, we could definitely work towards it. I mean, I think today was just because my retreat ended
Okay.
10 minutes before this started, and we didn't.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah,
I
we can
think
definitely do it in person.
I think there was a setup issue also, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think we would have to have publicized the meeting, and we hadn't told the public it was going to be moved from Zoom to.
So while we're talking about that, just real quickly, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Maddox, are you all fine with meeting face to face next meeting?
Yes, I am.
Sorry. Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Now we're ready for Angela, you're having trouble with having the agenda?
Can you not see the agenda?
No, I see you.
Mr. Harris, can you take over? I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, if you want to make me the host, I can do it.
Okay.
Can you imagine having a meeting without technical issues? God, that would be a dream.
You see it there, sir?
Yep. And now, if you could click on 6.2.
Hi, everyone. Hey.
Is it opening?
Can you see it?
There we go. Yes. Now we can. And this is something that, again, we've put this out today. So, and I'm sorry to kind of spring it on committee members, but this is something that that I asked Mr. Johnson from Communities and Schools to kind of draft something, and we actually have kind of a history of this. When I first came to Clark County, we had at H.T. Edwards a gigantic event that would be 6 or 7 hours long on a Saturday that involved it was a tremendously it was a community fair that took place inside the building is what it was. But it was very well populated with parents and that type of thing. But this is something that I know I've talked to Ms. Gallagher about. This is something that I've talked to Mr. Harris about, and I've talked to Mr. Johnson about. And this is just kind of a skeleton. I just asked Mr. Johnson to put some stuff in on some type of format that we can utilize. And so what we have in this county, we have a number of organizations, and I think I don't want to misquote you, Mr. Harris, but I think there's something like over 100 organizations. Am I right that work with our youth in one capacity or another?
Oh, I do not know that number off the top of my head, so I don't want to quote myself on that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I can imagine.
Yes. We
We
have a
have
list
about
that's more than
92.
Is that Ms. Gallagher?
Yes, we have 92. Well, 92 that I counted.
92. Okay. So what we need to do, because we've all kind of talked about it, is that we need to look at what form this will take. And what I saw is something like a Saturday morning or something like a Tuesday evening for a couple of hours or 2 or 3 hours, where we would meet in a we would open up a gymnasium, and we would invite every nonprofit who works with our youth to set up some type of organizational table. If they have information to put on the table, fine. If not, they just have a chair and a sign. And in that we really do a blast among our parents, among our teacher and staff members, to come out and see the wide assortment of organizations, Cheston Community, Tawana's group, Series Athletics, just on and on and on. Just and have the opportunity to talk with them, to see what they are offering, and then also they can interchange among themselves. So that would be a bare minimum is what I saw happening. And this is coming right out of the last meeting we had with the county government. We talked about doing something like that, but doing it online. And there were a lot of questions about how do you host it, who does the host, who updates it, and that type of thing. So this is the old-fashioned way, where you just invite people to a large event, and we will, do it. I think, at some point where we're beyond any lingering fears about COVID or whatever. Anyway, that's my idea. Other people's ideas.
Well, I'll say, I think that would be relatively easy to do if we keep it simple the way you're talking about. And then maybe with a vision of growing it in future years into something like what the district used to host at HT Edwards that you talked about, where there were 1,500 to 2,000 people who came through that each year. And we're certainly willing to help. And I don't think there would be much expense unless you wanted to spend a lot of money on advertising.
Mr. Harris, what's your opinion?
I mean, I definitely like the idea. I guess I'm just curious, and this may be something I need to talk with Dr. Thomas about, what type of supports she would want us to be able to provide. I think it's a great way to meet the needs of the community. I agree with Tim around keeping it simple for the first year, because if we're talking about before school, just keeping in mind that is in 8 weeks. So it's not that far out, and most of our, especially part of my team, leaves in 3 days because they're 220s, and then they come back the middle of July. So that would be, just want to think about staff capacity to be able to help. Not everybody's gone, but just keeping that in mind. People do leave in the summer, so they would come back July 16th, and if we're talking before school, that would be 3 weeks that they.
No, I didn't talk about before school.
Oh, I thought I heard you say like start of the school year type thing.
No, I said, kind of beyond into the fall where the fear of COVID, because parents are still trying to deal with, the school and the mask and all that kind of thing. I was thinking a little bit further beyond the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an initiative, it definitely sounds, I mean, same thing Tim said. I think it sounds like a good way to get resources to families and to advertise youth serving organizations in the community. All, as Karina said, what, 92 of them?
This is something that you're gonna try to do. I mean, I like it. I think it's a wonderful idea. And yeah, if we could keep it limited in scope for the first time, I think that would be super helpful. And also think about possibly doing it outdoors this go round until, more people are vaccinated.
Okay, so that's, okay, so
Helpful.
you think maybe outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be helpful. Hey, look, if our numbers are 0 in early fall, I will be very surprised and I will eat my words and we can move it indoors. I just don't know if that's gonna happen. So I would say maybe if we could keep it outdoors, but that does kind of pose the whole like tents and tables and having people make sure that they're sun protected and all that. But that would be my only recommendation. But I like the idea and I'm happy to yeah, let's launch forward with it if you guys find support of it.
Well, let's just kind of talk about if we look at it in terms of having the opportunity to do it outdoors, would we we could start out by, what time of day would be useful and where it would be useful where there's a lot of shade. Do we have any of our what, Karina, you have any ideas about that?
So I don't want us to go ahead and start planning something that the district is gonna have to do. And I want to help, but I don't want to plan it all the way out or pick venues because they're it's just been my experience. They fall through more times than not. So like just I think if there were like if Lawrence's team is gonna, like put something together, like giving them the space, like just sharing the idea and then just giving them the space to make it as creative as possible. Because I think this is definitely something that will happen because it's been something that's been at least discussed for a few years. So it's not something that's new. I think they're very familiar with it, but I think that just having, like this committee say this is something that, we really would like to see happen, and we want to support the work that you're going to be doing. I think it's kind of like where we should be at. I want to be able to help, and if we're giving directives at this point, I won't be able to help.
I mean, are we giving directives? I thought this was something that the committee was sort of going to lead the charge of, and I didn't see it as asking CCSD to put this on. I would never ask them to put on an event like this if they're not prepared to do that. I would say that would come from their office. That's what perhaps I'm wrong. Am I wrong?
So I came on late, so I may be misunderstanding what it is that we're doing or what we're talking about. Because I was hoping we were going to talk about legislative agenda, and
we did that one already.
Yeah, I missed it. So I'll go back and watch it, and doing a resolution or just taking a stand on like where CCSD is in regards to the governor's statement about, y'all already went through all of that.
Yeah, let me just kind of summarize real quickly, because there are only 4 of us, and so we need to kind of be on the same page. What we went ahead and passed it with the understanding, and it's in the agenda now. Including not only what I sent you before, but also an introduction to kind of the history of why why the resolution is coming up now. And so
Yeah.
we've already passed it with the understanding that, you know, individual members can fine tune it. Dr. Anderson did not want to get bogged down into wordsmithing for weeks and weeks. Have we lost you, Karina?
No.
Okay. Well, but
I don't
we did
know.
not. She didn't want to get bogged down in wordsmithing. And so that's how we were going to handle it. So it's going to be out there, and you know, I'm going to send it out again, and look forward to your comments, and we make the changes, and in fact, if somebody can put it in Google Docs, then we can all kind of comment. I tried putting stuff in Google Docs, and I don't know how to do it. So I don't know if somebody wants to take charge of that. But
Okay. Oh, thank you.
so anyway, Ms. Gallagher.
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of it in a nutshell, you know. And so, you know, we did discuss it first, but it was not. We didn't really look at the document. It was more based on what people had seen before. And so, if you have serious criticisms about it, or is it just making sure that it says what it needs to say, kind of tweaking it?
I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read and then reread, and then because I don't want to. Yeah, I'm just gonna read and reread.
We just don't have a whole lot. I mean, I think the timeliness of it is really important, because it just happened, and I know Gwinnett County has already responded, and but anyway, getting back to the subject at hand, I saw us kind of like the way Dr. Anderson described it, where we would reach out like we did today with communities and schools, to get their co-sponsorship. I don't see anything that's out of the wheelhouse that would stop me from contacting the chamber, and to see if we can get support from the chamber. If we could talk, if someone talked to Ms. Hull about Envision Athens, to bring them on board. In other words, we can certainly expand the pool of supporters of it, and sponsors. I don't see a problem with that. It's possible that we can get monetary contributions from a few of those organizations. Certainly, Mr. Harris's suggestions would be very helpful. I do, obviously, when it comes to, it's like any event that is being put on, we're going to have to, either the school district will support it like they do any event that the district puts on, whether it's athletics or any type of play, or anything that any organization that is part of the school system, because we are part of the school system. We're not excluded from it. I mean, we get a small little stipend thing, Clark County School District, and they also clean my teeth. So anyway, are we at disagreements in terms of, is this, from what I hear, I mean, Dr. Anderson says that we actually are kind of part of the planning of it, and then I hear Ms. Gallagher saying we just throw out the idea like we have in the past, and see if it works.
Mr.
So-
Davis, Mr. Davis, can I add something? I
Sure,
think,
sure.
so I think, you know, and I just got this doc yesterday, but I did want to say, without putting too many details out, my team is also already kind of in the midst of planning something very similar to this. And I just finally got through reading through the whole doc. And again, I hadn't had a chance to read through everything.
Right.
So I just also wonder, I don't want the committee to be planning an event that's separate. And again, y'all's decision as a committee, but if y'all are planning this event and then my team is planning, I mean, as I read through it, almost something very similar, very similar. We've already started making some contacts in the committee and developing plans around it. How can we bring those two initiatives together? And unfortunately, I'm not prepared to talk to the details today because I don't want to just out some of the details yet, as we literally just started planning a couple of weeks ago. But again, like I said, I just got this doc yesterday, so I hadn't had a chance to read through it. I just wonder, maybe that's where the committee comes in, where, you know, my team can also help to execute and develop this plan in collaboration with the Government and Community Relations Committee and in collaboration with, Family Connection communities and schools, because we may have the staff capacity to do. We also already kind of hit the ground planning for this, and we're looking at October, November, but as I read through it, it's very similar. And so I just wonder, and again, I think this may be something we could talk offline about. I just hadn't had a chance I didn't know this was going to be what we're going to talk through. Otherwise, we probably would have scheduled a call to discuss it. But that may be a good strategy as we meet to talk through what we've already started planning. And then maybe there's a way to marry these two together into one event. Because I don't imagine it being two separate.
I think you're saying exactly what I'm hoping this committee does. In other words, it's like we do with policy. Okay. The human resources meets as a department. They preview certain policies that we've had in the books for 20 years. And they say, well, they make suggestions. They bring it to the policy committee, and that's where the discussion takes place. And from that, we have a collaboration between elected board members and staff members, coming up with policy proposals that are then passed on to the board. I see this very similarly. We're not going to have two events, but this would be something, because you're talking about it in your department. We're talking about it at this meeting with some suggestions. And so what I would hope is, given the fact that it's not that far in the future, that the next meeting, you could, in your report, come out with your initial framework of about what this event would look like. And I saw that Dr. Anderson needs to leave at 5:30 exactly. So I don't even know what time. 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So anyway, does that kind of fall in line with what you think would be and I want to ask board members too, because, we were the recruitment of this committee, of Ms. Gallagher, of Dr. Anderson and Dr. Maddox, was all based on this was going to be a committee of action. And we were not simply going to talk about things that nothing ever happened. So here we're talking about something. It's in line with what you're talking about and your team are talking about. We were both talking about having a similar event in the fall. So it would seem like that at the next Government and Community Relations Committee, you would come forth with a plan in which we could perhaps make suggestions, and also figure out what we could do to support it, both as individual board members and collectively as a board.
I think that understanding that Lawrence's team is doing this is important, and I don't feel like I think that that's good information, so that maybe we can plan something entirely different. So it's good to know that your team Lawrence is already doing something similar to this, and we can support you in our way as a board and as a committee. And then we can pivot and do something completely different that still is in community engaging, that still has the stamp of what it is that we're trying to do. So, I mean, I don't feel like we wasted any time. Yes, we can maybe come up with some ideas, maybe 2 or 3 ideas for each member, and then we can discuss what the best ones are moving forward at the next meeting. I fully support that.
Okay.
I tend to, want to see us jail more, as a board and as, district staff, without crossing the line. I get so confused and frustrated with the operations and not doing it, and I'm a doer, and so, but I would, I like the idea of, Lawrence and his team, leading this effort, and we're supporting that effort. And even a step further, as I talked about before, this is one of those opportunities where also, if we have commitment of the board, one of my other issues is that we're not visible. This is an opportunity where board members could actually be visible as well. And as people come through, if they haven't met, any one of us, they could meet their district person, although we all serve everybody, but they voted on us. And so they'll be able to meet the person that they voted on. So that's another like collaboration. I would like to see more of that. I would like the community to see us more of that in terms of engagement, not separate engagement.
Yeah.
Dr. Maddox, if I can add to that, and that's something we've talked about, I will share, I do feel comfortable sharing that one of the things we've even talked about was how can we have Board of Education members and the commissioners available at certain spaces because as we're reaching out for our students and our families, we want them to be aware of who are the constituents, who are the folks you voted for, what's the platform, what are the things that are being done. I think just to add to Dr. Anderson's point, I think for me, it may be good, and maybe Mr. Davis, we can meet to talk about it. I guess now that the committee is officially the Government Community Relations Committee, and I don't want us to get bogged down in process, but what is it that I can be providing, but also, so when the board approved the strategic plan, one of the initiatives around is planning events. So my team, we got to work. We've been thinking about, okay, we need to engage family, community members, and our local citizens as active partners. And so something similar to this event is kind of how, we've started teasing out what this is. So I guess we may need to just talk about, well, how do we get the information from our team to the committee? And then what is the committee doing with, not just with the information, but how are we, the value add to it? So we just may need to talk more now that we officially have community engagement or community relations in the committee. What does that look like, and how do we operationalize it? And because I do feel comfortable sharing, I will say a deadline of next meeting to have the plan done may be really tight. Again, knowing that a good portion of my team leaves for summer. They're 220 contracts, so literally Thursday is their last day until July. And still again feeling, I'm working, already communicating with some of our local government partners and businesses. That may be really tight to have like a full plan fledged out by the July.
And I'm not at Lawrence. What I'm seeing is an update. In other words, this is something that was on this committee's agenda. Is something that I can go all the way back to Ovita before I went on the board talking about this, because she had experienced it before back in 2007, 2008, 2009, and we lost it during the recession. And so I don't expect, you have to go on your timetable, and that's understandable. It's just that this is a major event your team's committed to. I see this committee being committed to, because this board, and I know that Dr. Anderson has just joined us, but I mean, it is something that has been talked about repeatedly by the Clark County School Board, and Tawana can back me up on this. And so I think it's going to be an agenda item until it's held. And I think it's reasonable for you to update us as it comes along. And I think that, I love the idea of you thinking, well, how can the board fit in? And that can be part of your report as well. But anyway, I know we're not expecting you to sit down at the beach and you know, while you're trying to take a few days off and coming up with a very elaborate plan with all your staff elsewhere. So it's something that we're gonna do it in the fall. You know, you've said that, we've said that, it's the same event. And so I suggest that you know, unless someone else has something to say, we can go to our third item on the agenda. But does that make sense to I think Dr. Anderson has probably left, but does that make sense, Tawana, to you?
Yes.
What about Karina? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So moving right along. Thank you, Angela. So Lawrence, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to leave you hanging there, and we can talk in between. But I see us putting forth action items and things that are important to this committee. And, you know, we can either decide that they're not that important or that we need to go a different direction. But, you know, everything is kind of like, we're not just going to talk about what family engagement looks like. We're going to be talking about concrete things that we can do, the district can do, and have them as agenda items, and then see what works for the strategic plan and your department. Okay, she just said thanks everyone. Okay, I think that Dr. Anderson was specifying. Okay, so she's got the meeting schedule. This is something I was going to add at the end, but she says she's got this already on her calendar, the third Tuesday of the month. Okay, the last thing that we have on the agenda, and this is something that that I know that Ms. Gallagher and Dr. Maddox and I both are very passionate about, and that is, and this is something that would, you know, we haven't set a timetable to do that, except we did by policy, we are now obligated to have some type of public event where the focus is on the school board and the community. This is not something that, you know, we can do if we want to or not do if we want to. This is by policy. So the only thing I'm going to say that Dr. Anderson has already shared with me, and then I'm going to open the floor for discussion about what this event would look like, is, you know, when I talked to her about having it as a kind of soliciting comments from the community, she wants it more than that. She wants to be able to introduce the board to the community. In other words, it would be an engagement process, not simply a listening session. I think I first phrased it as a listening session, and she said no, it needs to be more than that. It needs to be where we're actually the community is getting to know us and we're getting to know them. So that's her feedback based on the previous discussion. Other people's thoughts about what it looks like for our first school board community at large meeting.
Well, I agree. I would like to see more two-way dialogue somehow, you know, just coming and talking. I just believe that the community wouldn't appreciate that much. You know, I know I've had constituents who don't feel heard, you know, so I believe that whatever we do, it should be a two-way opportunity. I don't know if that would be a panel, where we have, specific areas, and then, people can ask questions about our thoughts around it, if we keep it to the strategic plan and what's going on, tying it to the district, or then open it up to general concerns and just be prepared to hear those concerns. And sometimes we won't be able to listen, to speak, and so it will be a combination. But I think one opportunity to share what's going on this year in the strategic plan, like the change, what do we decide on for strategic plan? What do we decide on for, within our budget? And then, what are the community's concerns? What are things that they believe have not been addressed, or that they would like to hear more discussion about? And then probably have to have a follow-up again, maybe more than one, maybe one fall, one spring, but I just think that our community just needs to see us more. I feel awful. I just, like the neighborhood things, a lot of times they're on Thursdays, and it's kind of hard for me to maneuver. And I do want to start making my way to them now that summer is here. I'll be able to be, to be out there and be involved, because that's what I like to do. I like to be involved and to talk to, especially our young people. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. Ms. Gallagher. 3 cents.
Well, I like talking and listening. There are a few models out there that are really good for engaging, having conversations. Of course, you won't be able to get everything because we can't go for 2 days straight, but there are definitely some models. I like the World Cafe model. Having people sit at a table with a facilitator, there's a topic, and then getting feedback that way. That way you're getting input from more than one person at a time.
What's that called?
I like that too. That's a good one.
World Cafe.
Okay, so how does that work again? Explain that to me.
So when I used to do home visiting, it was something that we did, and you get parents to come in, and they all sit at tables, and each table has a topic, and then there's a facilitator, a note taker at each table, and then you discuss the topic for however long. Everybody gets the same amount of time. And how we did it was there was like numbers or shapes or something on the table. Everybody grabbed one, and then they moved to a different table with a different topic. But every time there's someone different at the table. So there's not, like one group of people who've designated a leader of that group who is the only person that speaks.
Yeah,
so they
I love that.
Table.
So how many? So in the evening, how many tables would you sit at? How many topics would you cover?
It depends on how many people come or how many you're expected to come. You can set up 20 tables. You can set up 100 tables, and put 5, 10, 15 people at each table. It's just really, 15 is a lot, but like it's just.
So would it be one topic for all the tables, or every table would be a different?
Yeah, every table would get a different topic, and then you rotate people to different tables.
Okay, are they ever reported out? Because I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, and you have a recorder at each table, and so you're basically collecting data at each table, and then all of that comes together because the one person, the note taker at the table, stays at that table, so they're collecting all the information collected at that table on that particular topic. And then
let's say you have 10 people at a table. I'm just trying 10 people at a table.
Mm-hmm.
How long would they have to discuss the topic?
It depends on the facilitator. There's no there's 15 minutes.
Is it 10 minutes is like speed dating, or are we talking more in-depth discussions?
It just depends on the facilitator. So usually it's about 15 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it just depends. Like we probably need to schedule a. Mr. Pruitt look like he ready to go. Um, but yeah, it just depends on the facilitator. So like if that's something that, like we want to do, we can definitely look at the model and get some people who are way more experienced with it than I am. I just know it from doing it for 5-6 years, like 3 times a year.
So
I was just thinking the district did something like that. I think it was that same model a number of years ago, and somebody from the Fanning Institute was the facilitator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that,
that
was
was a
that when we
community
met?
event. I was at it in the school. I can't remember what the topic was, but I was at an event the school district did, and they used that model. I don't know what we were discussing, but it was very interesting. It was a lot of feedback that they were gathering from community. It was community people there that the district actually had this, and it was yeah. I like that. I'm going to use it for something else. Thank you. You just solved the problem for me, Karina.
That was at H.G. Edwards, right?
Yeah.
But there was only one topic. I was there,
Yeah.
but it was only one topic, I thought.
It was more than.
Was there more than one?
Well, the benefit of us doing is that we can tweak it, and then make it for us. Like we're not limited to the way that somebody else did it. So yeah, we can fix it and make it work, and then I would rather have multiple topics. That way we are collecting more input, and feedback, and suggestions, and opportunities to reel in partners and mentors. So like there are a lot of opportunities that are presented in spaces like this. So
okay, so action steps. Okay, we got the idea, we know what we want to do. What we need to do is hone the we have to decide the type of topics we want. We've got to decide the format, exact format in terms of how many minutes, how many topics, how many tables, and then we got to talk about who are we trying to appeal to? Is it more parents, community, staff? And then we got to find someone to help us organize it.
Right. Or we can do, like spread them out and do 3 small ones or 3 big ones, and then get input from all those areas, because as school board members, we don't just serve the people who elected us. We serve students, we serve parents and teachers, and our policies affect everybody. So I don't think we're limited to just one. I mean, like, I wouldn't feel like I'm limited to just one. But if that's something, that way we're, like.
Well, let's organize one first. Let's organize one first.
Just make the first one a community thing. And then that way everybody feels welcome to show up. And then we don't have to separate it out. But it's easier to collect data that way than it is from a survey, I think, because people are their authentic selves.
Okay, so would we is this a Saturday morning thing, or is this better in the evening? I mean, I'm just trying to get some type of framework.
I don't know. We probably anything, but just giving people an opportunity to speak, I think, is what will draw them.
Yeah.
And so anytime, but like with enough notice, and I've seen community people show up to stuff at 7:30 in the morning and 7 o'clock at night. I think it's just a matter of us putting it together and then doing something with the information that's gathered, because it doesn't, like doing a World Cafe or Parent Cafe or whatever. It doesn't mean anything if we're not going to do anything with the information. So putting it together, I don't think is the hard part. Is what is that we're going to do with the information that's gathered is the important part.
Okay, so how are we going to decide what information to gather? Because that's the question. What information do we want?
Yeah.
Do we want something that's more reflective on us as board members? Is it, are we looking more information in terms of kind of a temperature of the school district and how well the school district is doing? Is it more aspirational? Where would we like to be? Okay, Tim Johnson said,
Yeah, Tim might be the go-to person on stuff like that.
okay. So, I mean, you know, either we can, you know, we're not going to settle this today, but we need to have next steps.
Yeah.
So who wants to take a chunk of this and work on it?
I don't mind doing it. I mean, like, I know I'm familiar with the model. And I know Tim's cell phone number, so.
I was gonna say, I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also like the Bible, and I will say that for all her modesty, Karina is actually a lot more familiar with the model than I am. She's implemented it.
Okay, so what exactly, Karina, are you taking on so that I, you know, so that I can kind of write it down, and then we can assist you in other ways.
Okay, so maybe, hold on, I gotta write it down. Because my brain works differently. I might say it and then be like, oh yeah, I was
Because
supposed
we
to
can
do
throw you, we can put ideas out there as a board. I can, but
Yeah.
but the thing is, I need to know. We need to kind of focus in on. So we're focusing on the community,
Yes.
and but what information and the key is retrieving information from the community. So we need to kind of pinpoint what information would be most helpful to us.
Okay, so I can work on like making sure I remember the framework for doing and like just getting with some people. I'll get with Tim because not for the World Cafe piece, but because he's more familiar with the type of questions that garner more input, because he's been in a lot of different spaces and places, but he's also got a whole bunch of knowledge, so we might as well pick his brain since we got him. Okay, what questions? Framework, and then I don't know.
Okay,
A couple of other questions will be, how big do you want it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go as big or almost as small as you want, but there's a big difference in the amount of work to do it.
Yeah.
Really big, because you have to train facilitator for enough facilitators to have one at each table.
Right.
And, you know, I think that having 15 people, I don't think you should have more than 6 or 7 people at a table to have a really engaged conversation. But
yeah, I'm wondering for our first one if we only have a couple of topics. I'm just trying to I'm just kind of throwing my mind around, because the one that we had before that Dr. Maddox mentioned, we had about, I want to say we had close to 200 people there. And I think we were in tables of 8, if I remember right. And so if you divide 8 into 200, and that's a lot of topics to cover.
So you don't have to do all different topics. It's just moving from being able to get up and then move. And then a lot of that's got to do with the science behind, you know, like how the brain works and how conversations work. So having people sit in the same place for an extended period of time, much like are we live? Like the board meetings, my brain like kind of dies off. because I have to sit there for a long time. But if I get up and move around, then I'm okay,
Okay.
to come back to the next conversation. Just in my head, that's how it works. But so like if there were 20 different tables, you wouldn't want 20 different topics because you would only get like this much information because there wouldn't be enough time to go through all that. But if there were 20 different tables and 8 different topics, then you get a lot more information and a lot more people who are able to speak on it.
What about, and I'm just throwing this out in terms of an idea, but if you have a big enough space, you have 5 tables of 8 people each, and that's a pod. And then you have another 5 tables with 8 people, and that's a pod. And so you have these different pods, and then you rotate within those pods maybe every 15 minutes. And then you've got the facilitators taking notes. And so you're collecting, you may have 5 people collecting the same information that you can then compile.
Sure.
I mean, does that sound like a
I think
workable
we're saying the
model?
same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to support what Karina said. You can structure it pretty much however you want to.
Okay.
The biggest one that we did that's pretty much using this model was our trauma summit a few years ago when we had 240 people over a 2-day period. And Fanning worked with us on that to train facilitators. And so we had about 30 tables and people had to pre-register. And so we divided people so that you wouldn't be with your usual group. So we had the cop with the school teacher, with the school counselor, with the foster parent, and then a facilitator. And then they would first be at the table to talk about how we're going to be trauma responsive in schools. And then they would go and be with a different group at a different table talking about how we're going to be trauma responsive in hospitals or with the police department. And so, as Karina described, each facilitator stayed at the table and took the notes, but then the groups rotated among the tables. And that was about the biggest event I've been in that used pretty much this model. And Sage Medlin at Fanning really was very, very helpful.
Well, I can reach out to Fanning. Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything, I know that one of the ideas that you've been expressing interest in, I'm asking you to see if there's anything that this could be a piece of. You were talking about having, a parent university type system.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I could see this taking place within a kind of having being one piece of a much larger event. And are you planning something that would fit into what we're talking about? Or is that
you literally could have been a fly on the wall in our retreat. So yeah, we are working on our parent universities. We're actually going to be mapping out, I believe, probably no more than 4 to 5 this school year that we want to hold in collaboration with the student support division as well as technology. So mapping out the topics, what are those things we need to cover with parents? We did just hold one about a month ago, and we covered providing mental support or recognizing mental health within your youth and within your children. How do you provide that support? So we had some speakers come who helped parents to look at strategies, different practices, tools they can use to support their children, especially the year after, a pandemic or year within a pandemic. We know a lot of our kids are dealing with mental health and stressors. So we had 2 or 3 therapists who were on that parent university, and they provided resources and support, and parents were able to ask questions. And it was a really good event. So we plan on doing them at least 2 more in the fall and 2 more in the spring. To answer your second part of the question, is that something we could rope in together? I don't know. Like I said, we just now started planning what are the topics that are going to be needed. So we're trying to look at what are going to be the most timely topics for next year. I don't see why we couldn't collaborate or kind of rope them into each other. I think we still haven't decided. Like the last one was, of course, by Zoom. Ideally, we want to do stuff in person, but some of the feedback for some families is Zoom works well when they don't have to. If you get off of work and you can just hit the link, but then we also know about internet access. So there's a lot of detail we're talking through. Sorry, that was a really long response.
Okay, I mean, is there, okay, I mean, would you suggest, I mean, what I was thinking is that if you were gonna do parent university, let's say Saturday morning from 9 to 11:30, then we could have a short lunch and we could have this type of activity in the afternoon, for 2 hours. I mean, I was thinking something like that. On the other hand, it may be something that we just need to do independent. I just don't, if there's something that you're doing that you figure, hey, this could be an appendage of something else we're planning that simply involves the school board and their own topics and everything, but it's another, since people are coming out, this is another activity they can engage in either before or after something that is being organized by your department. That's all. That's the only reason I was asking.
I think I get so you're basically saying as we're planning events for the year, it'd be helpful to see how could we potentially embed the board or board members into the events as kind of these public engagement. So when we plan events, thinking about maybe there's an opportunity for board members, because of course you're always invited, but if you're there, not just there as present, but there for the purpose of meeting with constituents, talking to families and students around, your role in your work, right? Is that
okay? Yeah. But it sounds like that right now, the best thing for us to do as a board is to go ahead and have a subcommittee of Ms. Gallagher and Mr. Johnson to, work on this format. And I'm gonna, with y'all's permission, I will contact Fanning Institute and to see what would be involved to get them. Would that be helpful with Karina to bring them into the discussion?
So I can reach out to make sure that we understand the model, but paying Fanning to do something that we can do ourselves, I think is counterproductive. Like they cost a lot of money. And it's not that hard once you understand the model. It's more about facilitation than anything else, which is all they will be doing. It's kind of like, don't go over here, which is all they're really doing after the event. But I think it's going to be a government and community relations related. Then we can probably keep it there without spending money.
Okay, can I put you on the spot to put something out there for discussion for this committee in 2 weeks?
Okay.
And then it becomes an agenda item at our next meeting.
Okay, what do I have to do that?
You have to work with Mr. Johnson on the more about the format and the topics.
Oh no, I mean you said something about an agenda item. Oh,
yeah, and then put it out there, give us a chance to discuss it a little bit so that when we bring it on the agenda for the next meeting, we're already it's kind of like my resolution where I didn't say, hey, let's
yeah, I was supposed to, but I don't want to work on it.
Let's write a resolution at this meeting. Okay. Instead, I put it out there as a draft. I want feedback, and then we can move it forward.
Okay.
Okay. So 2 weeks.
I got you.
Okay.
All right.
I know that Dr. Maddox has to leave. And so we've got a plan. We've got 2 agenda items for our next meeting, and then Mr. Lawrence is going to update us as to the community nonprofit youth organizations, wherever he's at that point. Any other discussion before we adjourn the meeting?
Now, Mr. Pruitt's got bingo again. I'm gonna bring you a prize.
Okay. What now?
I'm gonna bring you a prize because I think you got bingo again.
Oh, I did.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have
Yeah,
a second?
Yep. Second.
Okay,
Thank
All
you,
those-
Tim.
all those in favor?
Ah.
There we go. No, okay. Have a